It's an honor
Okay.
to chat to you, Mo, honestly.
Thank you so much. You're very kind. Thank you.
Just the Mind Matters Summit that's coming up. I'm looking forward to seeing you there, but I had to grab you just to have a quick conversation about South Africa because you're coming to our beautiful land. And
Yes.
I always like to start off with some of the expectations that you may have with regard to South Africa. I'm not sure how much knowledge you have of the country, its socioeconomics, but are there any things that pop out to you just ahead of the summit that really are key things that you are looking forward to tackling?
Well, I will tell you openly, even though I've been to South Africa a few times and I've driven from Johannesburg to other parts of Africa and so on, I've never been to Cape Town. And if there is one city around the world that has a massive reputation for being close to heaven, really, it is Cape Town. Like every one of my friends who knows Cape Town goes like, "Are you mad for having not been there?" And I'm like, "I'm sorry, I just didn't get the chance." And I'm now finally heading to Cape Town. So, you know, when they say don't ever meet your heroes,
Yeah.
it is a tense moment because I don't know. What if it's like not really heaven? I'm not sure, but you know, so far everyone I have many, 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 many friends from South Africa, and
Yeah.
everyone from Cape Town is such a nice human being so far. And so maybe it doesn't really matter what the architecture is, which I'm told is also quite interesting. But so far it's been promising. Let's see.
You were in for a treat. I'm telling you now, and I love the fact
Ah,
that you said it's
you
close
see,
to heaven.
that's what everyone says. Yeah,
But it has its flaws like anything. And one of the
of
biggest things
course.
about Mind Matters, Mo, is that I love the fact that the summit is based on something that's more practical. It's not just about,
Yeah,
let me tell you about my philosophy and my theory. It's about the
yeah,
practicality that I'm looking forward to. And having chatted to one
yeah.
of the other guest speakers as well, uh, I'm excited about the practicality. But let's knuckle it down for a second though, because uh, in in some of your works, like let's just look at Unstressable. You have this amazing way of building and using your engineering background to create blueprints for us to negotiate our reality. I'm going to call it that. And as
Yeah,
somebody who's always been a
yeah.
student of emotional intelligence, people find it weird that I'm a radio guy that studied psychology. It's always been something that's very close to my heart. Um,
Mhm.
Trust me, you need it for all sorts of things.
Yeah,
But
100%. Yeah,
I, I just I just wanted to talk through the fact that South Africa is a place where we are bogged down by a lot of things socioeconomically. We come from a history that we've been oppressed in our past. We've tried to move forward. We have inequality all over with regard to access to resources. So there's a lot of things stressing the everyday person out. In fact, people who listen to my show, the parents, their version of happy is getting through a month. So I would like to ask you about one little thing, and that is it really possible in an environment such as this to contemplate an idea of being unstressable and traditionally happy, knowing that our benchmarks are very different? It's more like survival.
what an amazing question. First of all, of course, my heart is with everyone who's struggling every day, right? It is the truth of life, sadly, that everyone is struggling every day, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Okay. It's quite interesting when you think about it because um, if I asked someone in Cape Town who is, or in South Africa in general, who's struggling with all of those, socioeconomics and historical challenges, if they'd rather be transported to one of the world war zones around the world for a week, they'll suddenly look at their life and go like, "Oh, hold on, no, no, I think that's okay actually. I'm gonna keep this, right?" And believe it or not, this seems to happen across all economic strata of society. I mean, there has been a study by Stanford University where they went to if I remember correctly, 2,500 people
Yeah.
from all income profiles. And, in California, you have some very significant income profiles. And they basically asked them two questions. They said, how much money do you make now? And how happy do you rate your life? Okay. And some said, I make $50,000 a year. Some said, which in America is not sufficient to live. Some said 500,000, some said 5 million, some said 5 billion. Okay. And then, they rated themselves differently on the scale. Some said, I am 4 out of 10 happiness. Some said, I'm 7 out of 10 happiness. Then they asked them a question and said, what would it take? How much more money would it take you to get to 10 out of 10? Okay. And every single one of them, regardless of their income, said double. If I'm making 50,000, give me 50 more, I'll be a 10 out of 10. Right? If I'm making 500,000, give me a million and I'll be 10 out of 10. And it's quite interesting. It continues. And if you had asked the 5 billion guy when he was making 500,000, he would have said, give me a million and I'll be the happiest person on earth. You see, my work looks at happiness in an unusual way because of my engineering background. Happiness follows a standard equation. Happiness is equal to or greater than the difference between the events of your life and your expectations and hopes and wishes of how life should be. Okay. And so, but a very bad defect in the design of the human psyche is that the better life becomes, the more we adjust our expectations upwards, almost as if we have a service level agreement with life. Right. And it's quite shocking when you really think about it, because you can see it for every single one of us. You graduate from university and you go like, yeah, just give me enough to eat a couple of burgers a week and I'll be fine. Right. And then you get into a mortgage and then you say, if I just cover my mortgage, I'll be fine. And then you say, but I need a car. If I get the car, I'll be fine. And it just continues to grow. Now, that doesn't take away the fact that if you don't have enough to make ends meet and to feed your children, it's hard to find happiness, right? But it's not hard to become a little happier or a little less stressed, right? There is always an impact of putting the right measures and following the right habits that might not get you to 10 out of 10. Nobody ever reaches 10 out of 10. I'm supposed to be, my mission is 1 billion happy. So I'm supposed to be at least the world champion in happiness if I can give myself the right to target a billion people with a message of happiness. But I don't. Every one of us goes from happiness to unhappiness and then back up. Right. And true happiness practitioners, whether these are teachers or psychologists or the top Buddhist monks in the world, when I talk to them, they'll tell you, of course, we're always pissed off. Life is full of challenges, right? The game of true happiness practitioners is, what are you going to do when you're in a state of unhappiness to get yourself back to happiness? What are you going to do when life is stressing you to remove and alleviate some of the stress? And while you may never remove all of it, life will always be challenging. Every tiny bit counts, and every tiny bit is your duty.
And that is the beauty of life. It is indeed. It's that challenge.
100%.
It is really that challenge.
100%. And one of the most interesting questions, Carl, is ask people, would you live a life that has absolutely no challenges at all? I mean, it's basically like a video gamer who starts the game and then pushes the controller forward and waits 70 years. Where's the fun in that? Where is the development in that? And if you ask many people, I did that with thousands, more than 20,000 people when I was teaching happiness in courses. If you ask them, would you take the most challenging times of your life away, knowing that they made you the person that you are right now? Most people wouldn't. Most people will say, yeah, it felt like crap then, but it's amazing now.
I want to dig a little deeper into this, but I know our time is limited. But I do have a last question, Mo, before you go to your next meeting. And I have a small theory. It's not tested, but it's something that I've observed. So back when I was studying, they were talking about observation-based psychology, where a young person looks at their parents and their environment, and they look at the trial and error of those people negotiating their surroundings, and they start making decisions as to how they should be acting. I want to pose to you a small question around, do you believe that, given the fact that there's an over reliance and over focus, if you want to call that, on social media and technology as a whole, that our benchmarks for happiness are given over to more people we don't know because of streams of content that our younger people are focusing on. So when growing up, when I looked at my dad and I saw he was unhappy, I felt, oh, I don't want to be there. When I saw somebody physically who had a lot of money, there was a benchmark for happy. I want to be that guy. Now we're looking at streams
Yeah.
and streams of social media content. So the question is, are we in a generation now, and is it even preventable or moldable for us to teach our kids a version of happy that we believe is going to be effective and constructive for them? So, in short, I believe that the benchmark for happiness is coming from sources unknown and not from our own family unit.
Yeah. And they're coming with no objective of making you happy as well, right? We live in a very messed up world. I'll tell you that openly. And and the reason we do is because we're all very gullible. We believe the lie that we're told. We believe
Yes.
that social media is going to connect us and make us closer to our friends when we're suffering a loneliness epidemic, really, that is everywhere in the world. Young people have never been lonelier. Now, there is a very interesting difference when I was, in my tens or teens. When I felt lonely, I had to leave my apartment and go knock on my friend's apartment and ask if they're available, and then, walk with them to a place where we can buy a drink or whatever, and hug them in the process,
Yeah.
and push them when they say a funny joke. Yeah, do that with social media. But I have to be open and honest. Huh? There's nothing inherently wrong with technology. Just remember that. Huh? So the idea here is the following. My daughter studied in Canada for 5 years, and my way of keeping up and staying connected with her a little better than if that wasn't there was social media. We WhatsApped all the time. We texted all the time. I saw a beautiful picture of her and I sent her a lovely comment and so on. There is an upside to social media and to all technology. I mean, my current startup is about love, about helping humanity find genuine, true love, through an AI we call Emma. And Emma basically handholds you to help you understand yourself so that you understand what you're looking for. And hopefully, because we understand your match as well, we can get two people together that are deeper than just a swipe of how pretty they look. Right.
Yeah.
And when you see that, you realize that the problem with technology is not in the fact that it is harmful. It's in the fact that we're directing it against the benefit of humanity, whether that's the social media company and platform that wants you stuck there because that's where their benefit resides, whether that's the dating app that wants you to keep subscribing month after month so they want you to go on dates forever, or whether that's you who is unable to look at this and say, hold on, that's actually not real at all, right? And a big chunk of my mission in life, believe it or not, when I take a choice to champion Emma.love and basically say Emma's going to actually fix this, right? It's because I allowed myself to take the responsibility not just for myself but for others, right? And I think each and every one of us can do that and take the responsibility, one of ourselves, by just literally looking at your, well-being and digital health information to realize that you've been on Instagram for 5 hours a day. So
Yeah.
what a waste of life. These are very valuable 5 hours that you could have hugged someone in, right?
Yes.
Or even take it a step further and take responsibility for others and text that friend that you have on Instagram, DM them on Instagram and say, hey, why don't we just go out and buy ourselves a drink and chat, right? And it is really, really up to us to stop that madness of being gullible, being told how to live, just because that's what's offered to us and what's easy for our dopamine hits, right? Being fit is not easy. Being fit requires you to get up and go to the gym, right?
Yes.
And accordingly, being human is not easy. It requires you to get up and be human, right? And it's a choice. What can I say, Carl? It's a choice.
It is, and I think it's a choice that I would encourage anybody to work with their teenagers. I have a 15-year-old as well, and I think it's important for us to have that
Oh my God,
conversation too.
I thought you were 27. So
When I see you in Cape Town, remind me to give you a hug. Thank you so much for that. No, but I love it.
yeah,
It's important.
yeah,
I like the fact that you said. I think that there's an aggression towards social media if someone feels so out of control, especially when you have a teenager. You know, my teenager, most of their knowledge it'll come from their streams of
of
information over
course.
there. But it was always a thing of mine to think when I was his age, I used to go to my father to verify information. This man has
Yeah.
TikTok, ChatGPT, Google, whatever. He's got so many platforms to verify, which means, am I losing that credibility that traditional father used to have when it was like, Dad, what's the capital of Australia? This guy's saying Sydney, the other
Mhm.
guy's saying Canberra. And your dad would sit back and go,
Yeah.
Sydney.
My
And he'd be
advice to most
incorrect.
parents, my advice to most parents is go with them to ChatGPT, right? Be part of their life. Don't invite them to your old ancient life. I mean, in a very interesting way, when I had my kids when they were, early on in their lives, at the time it was the revolution of free-to-air satellite. Okay, TV, and if you didn't live that time, but at that time there was one channel that had one good program once a week, and the rest was porn, right? And the question really was, which I remember vividly, the conversation with my wonderful ex-wife, who basically where we basically were saying, is this something we should invite into our home? And, my answer was, the masculine is all about discipline.
Mm.
It was about, no, of course not. This is very dangerous for the kids. And she said, but when they go to their friends' homes, they'll find it, right? I think the idea is that we should invite it into our home to tell them that we don't like it. And my ex was very shy as a woman. And so anytime there was something inappropriate on TV, she would literally look the other way, not even pretend. She was like that, right? And behaving that way in front of her kids. When we grew older and my kids were in their late teens or early 20s, and I had this beautiful cinema room when I lived my spoiled years at home, and they would be sitting next to me and something shows up on the big screen, they would look the other way, right? Why? Because we were with them in that new world that they were exploring. And in a very interesting way, even if we're not the experts at it, in
Yeah.
AI, for example, a parent should go to their kids and say, show me how this works. Okay. Bring me into your life so
Yeah.
that we can live it together.
I love that idea, and it's a great bit of advice, Mo. Thank you for taking the time. I really hope you'll have some more time for me and come visit my studio when you're down in Cape Town. But I'm looking forward to seeing you on stage at Mind Matters on the 4th of September. Thank you so much for what you've created and your extensive work. I've been a big fan of it. I've been listening to it and reading it, and I just want to say thanks a lot for
You're
creating a
very
different
kind. You're
angle.
very, very kind. I'm so looking forward to Cape Town, and I'm hoping, that, of course, that we will meet there for a good coffee and meet everyone. It's really the highlight of my year so far to be in such a warm, lovely place. So looking forward to it.
We will give you a warm welcome, and our coffee here is some of the best of the world.
I
Just
know.
letting you know.
I heard. Yeah,
Just
there you
letting you know.
go.
Thanks a lot, Mo.
Thanks
Have a
so much,
beautiful
Carl.
morning, and we'll chat again next week.
The Flash Drive with Carl Wastie.
KFM
94.5.